What's up, everybody? This is Caesar coming straight from the underground where we're innovating. And why are we innovating? Because we're closest to the problem and stand to benefit significantly from obtaining a solution to that problem. And what's our problem? Trying to validate business ideas in resource constrained environments. And today, boy, I got a good one for you. So, in this video, I want to share a little bit more about myself. Now, I'm not all work, I'm not all high level thinking and strategic thinking. I like to leave room in my life for creative endeavors as well as having fun. And one of the ways that I've been having fun lately is by reigniting a passion that I had whenever I was a younger kid. Now, when I was a younger kid, I was obsessed with a particular video game. It's called World of Warcraft. So, for those of you that don't know what it is and have been living under a rock for the past 20 years, it's a massive multiplayer online video game that was released in early 2004. Now, what really makes this game unique is that it allows people to come in and really build a community, and it has its challenges as well. Now, over the years, it's released multiple different versions to the current version we have right now. So the original version that really ignited that passion, that curiosity, that desire to go quest in the original video game isn't necessarily what it looks like now. So in around 2019, there was a big demand for getting a specific version of World of Warcraft called Classic World of Warcraft or Vanilla WoW, as other people refer to it. Now, as that kind of took a little bit of traction, people flooded in and started playing it more, there was a specific version that emerged. It's called Hardcore. Now, the concept of Hardcore first started as an add on that would track if a person died or not. Now, the whole premise of Hardcore WoW is that you want to get from level 1 to 60 without dying. Now, for those of you that have played World of Warcraft, you know that that is a very difficult endeavor. You cannot die, you cannot even resurrect, nothing like that. You have to go from 1 to 60 without dying. Now, getting to 60 itself already comes with its challenges. And to add that component, it really becomes difficult because once you die, it's over. You lose everything. And me being the nerd that I am, I've derived a few different lessons as far as it comes to entrepreneurship and innovation that I've learned while playing classic World of Warcraft on hardcore mode. And today, that's what I want to share with you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the first lesson I want to share with you is have a plan. Now, when it comes to hardcore WoW, if you just start and you just let the environment dictate the direction you go, you're going to die. You're not going to make it very far. You're going to struggle in the early game where you're your weakest, and you're going to be subject to essentially the external forces that the actual game places upon you. Not having a plan is a surefire way of failure. And in this situation where the stakes are very high, where each step counts, you need to have a plan in place. Now, this goes into business, entrepreneurship, and innovation as well. Whenever it comes to planning out your business, if you just go into a market without a strategy, without any foresight, without any forward thinking, you're going to fail. You're going to be subject to those external forces. Not even having a business model or a business plan in place doesn't give you the opportunity to be able to validate ideas or not. And this is also critical in business. If you don't have a plan, there's a there's a high chance of failure. So that's one of the lessons that I've learned. Always have a plan in hardcore WoW. Number 4, efficiency is key. Now, whenever it comes to questing, there's a lot of downtime that you can incur, which means that it adds more and more time to your experience. And the more time you have playing, the more subject you are to the external forces that might get you killed in the game. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. Are you on the most efficient path? Should you be questing? Should you be grinding? And not only that, setting up efficient systems in order to be able to generate gold. Because the more gold that you're able to generate, that in the long term ensures safety. It's the same exact thing with entrepreneurship and innovation, having scalable and efficient systems, being able to ensure that you have your plan, you have your steps for execution, and you're actually working through that plan in an efficient manner, that you're not taking detours, that you're not doing the wrong thing. And then whenever you do find that success, you're able to capture it, build the system behind it, and then start generating resources for the business so that way you can start scaling and get to that product market fit, and or get to that place where you can innovate and invest more back into the business. It's the same exact thing in World of Warcraft. You are efficient with your time, with your grinds, and you make sure that you capture those resources in order to be able to leverage those resources to attain more resources, which in turn guarantees safety in the actual game. Number three, risk management is everything. So this is one of the things that separates the noobs from the sweats out here in a classic World of Warcraft. Let me tell you, if you don't minimize risk, you're not going to make it very far in hardcore WoW. Now, there's a lot of times where you have to make that trade-off decision, whether it's worth it or not. And for example, some of the key areas that you will absolutely get annihilated in is caves. If you don't have an exit plan inside of those caves or mines, chances are you're going to get stuck there. Everything's going to respawn and you're going to get killed. So, not being able to see that, especially with the number five, if you don't have a plan and you're not able to mitigate risk, then chances are everything's going to blow up on you, right? You're going to die. I mean, it's just not plausible to be able to survive without doing proper risk management. And in some cases, some of the quests are very, very, very dangerous and almost guarantee certain death. And the reward for those quests isn't justifiable. So you always have to really think about risks and mitigating risk, especially when you're playing. For example, if you're trying to pull a mob to you and trying to kill them, you have to think, is this the safest way? Am I going to pull other mobs? Are these mobs going to come and kill me? Is this mob a higher level? Is this zone worth being in? If I enter into this area, am I going to die? So when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's the same exact thing. Risk mitigation is extremely important. Whenever you're planning out a new product endeavor, project, or anything like that, you have to understand the risks and you have to be able to put them in some sort of prioritized matrix in order to make sure that that risk emerges. You have a plan in order to be able to overcome a risk. Now, in some situations, you don't know what you don't know, right? And you can't really plan for that. But if you have some sort of basic understanding of the play field and you know what to expect, if it emerges, you can handle that. Or in general, you can just avoid it. Same thing goes with classic WoW. If you have a really good understanding of the risks in this particular situation, now you have a few decisions. You have a plan, like we stated before, and you can minimize that risk by doing certain things. And if that particular situation comes up, then you could just put the plan into action. Now, if you don't have any of that and everything falls apart, especially in one of those don't know you don't know situations, you're going to die. And so that's one of the lessons that I've derived in order to be able to play smarter. Risk mitigation is everything, not only in hardcore WoW, but also in entrepreneurship and innovation. Number two, and this is one of my most favorite ones of all, minus number one, of course. But number two is think outside of the box, right? Whenever it comes to entrepreneurship, we're solving problems, we're innovating, we're trying to think outside of the box. What is the norm and how can we get outside of that norm? That is one of the most amazing things about entrepreneurship is the ability that you have in order to be able to be creative. Now, when it comes to hardcore WoW, there's a meta, there's a box that the game tells you to go into. And the majority of players follow that path where it's a very linear process in order to be able to get from 1 to 60. And those that have already played the game know that it's a very, very linear process. But you always have an opportunity to do things differently. And that's what the beauty of playing my experience in hardcore WoW is. Sometimes there's levels where you just need to grind it out. And people don't necessarily fall into that line, but applying efficient and scalable systems to being able to grind it out give you a brand new experience whenever the actual game is played versus questing. And this kind of goes back into what I was talking about when it comes to hardcore WoW. Sometimes whenever you choose a route and a path that seems linear, it can be non-linear in a sense. Questing from point A to point B not always is linear, and a lot of times you waste time from going from one side of the map to the other side of the map, and it just kills the amount of time that you have. Like I mentioned, the more time that you spend leveling up, the higher the risk is that you will face death. And that's one of the lessons that you have to learn in general. So, with being creative, efficient, being placed in efficient situations where you can grind and continuously gain XP, gold, materials, loot, all of that allows you to be able to really stay in a safe, controlled space in order to be able to safely level to level 60. That is a very creative way. It's unorthodox. It's how people do different things and apply different situations to the actual problem. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship and innovation. That's here in the underground, people are the ones that experience their problems and they think outside the box in order to be able to solve their problems. That's one of the most fundamental aspects of innovation. And being able to understand that and apply it in different aspects, not only in gaming, but entrepreneurship, problem solving, leveraging that creative mind just to do different things really leads to breakthroughs, really leads to innovations, really leads to getting outside of the box. And that's one of the lessons that Hardcore WoW has taught me as well is don't be afraid to think outside the box. Play it at your own, on your own pace. Chart your own path. Be as creative as possible. Don't box yourself into a certain way of doing it. If you find there's a better way of doing it, do it. Same thing with entrepreneurship. There's always a better way, and you as an underground innovator should be the one that's figuring it out. And finally, number one, this one is so important, especially when you're a first time entrepreneur and just in general. We go again. Now that's like the classic saying whenever it comes to WoW. Now things happen, of course. You can mitigate risk. You could be as creative as possible. You could set up your efficient systems and you can have a plan and still everything will go wrong. Trust me, I've been playing this game for a while now and I've died multiple times. But this is where that resilience factor of an entrepreneur comes in. You have to go again, especially if it's something that you feel dumb about. For example, if it was your own fault that you did it and you died in the game, you learn from those lessons, right? You start a new character, you re-roll, and then you continue to go. And like I mentioned, you get smarter as time goes. It gets easier. It gets the fundamentals start becoming a little bit clearer. You know what spaces to avoid. You know what traps to avoid, and you start thinking more strategically. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. Now, if you fail as an entrepreneur your first time, it's okay. You learn your lessons and you go again. You don't let your failures stop you dead in your tracks because if you do, you're never metaphorically going to get to level 60, right, in your entrepreneurial journey. And that's one of the things that I've taken to heart. Once you die, you die. There's nothing you can do about it. You accept it, you move on, and you start again. And that's one of the best lessons that I can share with you guys here about classic World of Warcraft. Never forget, we go again. Same thing with your entrepreneurial ventures. So I hope you guys learned something here. Like I mentioned, I'm always thinking about creative ways of how to apply whatever I've learned into systems, frameworks, or just ways and lessons that I can share with you guys whenever it comes to being a better entrepreneur, learning more about a specific subject, innovation, and trying to tie all of these things back together. Like I mentioned, World of Warcraft is no joke on its own. There's just so much that you have to learn, and the learning curve may be a little intense for some people. And then you compound that with hardcore WoW, where you can only die once, and it becomes even more difficult. But the challenge is there, and the challenge of overcoming really ignites, for me particularly, that passion of being able to get to that next level within this space. And those are the lessons that I've derived. Like I mentioned, it's a mix of creativity, being strategic, and being resilient, always thinking ahead. And worst case scenario, everything fails, it's okay. You go again, right? Same principles apply to entrepreneurship, product development, and innovation, strategy, forward thinking, and always accepting failure as a learning lesson and not something that stops you in your tracks. So, with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe. Are you guys playing hardcore WoW? If not, I'd say try it out. Don't lose sleep over it. Don't stress over it. Don't pull your hair out. And if you need somebody to play with, just put that in the comments, and we could go from there. But with that being said, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.